Hey guys, it's Kevin on the Movie for you guys. This is reviewing. This is a movie that I'm sure, besides Black Panther, all of us were pretty much anticipating. I was really looking forward to finally seeing this movie, and now I have, and that is, of course, none other than Alex Garland's new film, Annihilation. And what Annihilation is essentially about is we center on the character of Lena. She basically is this biology college professor, but she also is a former soldier who is in the military. And basically, her husband, Kane, he has been in this expedition for a couple years now. She's kind of under the impression that he's actually died. He mysteriously walks back in their house, virtually no memory of what he went through or anything, prior to that. And one day he just kind of starts hemorrhaging. She doesn't really know what's going on. So she takes him into, this facility where she's met by Dr. Ventress, who basically tells her that, Kane was in this expedition that failed, and Lena basically can go in the same expedition with a different group of women to basically investigate this creature known as the Shimmer, figure out really what's going on, inquire all this data, and what starts off as a simple mission quickly goes awry very quickly, and that's really all I'm going to say. So Annihilation in general, I was obviously hyped for this movie. Coming off the heels of something like Ex Machina, I think Garland has really established himself as a great director. I wish he made more movies, I really did, because Ex Machina is one of the most unique of its kind. I really love everything about that film. That was the film that put Alicia Vikander on the map. It gave us a really great Oscar Isaac performance. I mean, there's just so much to love about this movie. Annihilation seemed like it was going to step it up in basically every way possible. It looked bigger, it looked like it had this incredible cast, it had this incredible message to it, and it really just seemed like the next great sci-fi film, and I'm happy to report that's exactly what it is. I fucking loved Annihilation. I think this is a fantastic movie. I think it is definitely one of the most unique of its kind that really does have a lot of interesting things to say that I don't think we really think about. It's got an incredible cast overall, but we're just going to enter right now starting off with said cast. And easily, that is one of the best things about this movie. Let me just say right off the bat, everyone in this film is acting at the top of their game. There's not a single bad performance in this movie. But let's first talk about Natalie Portman, because sure, she's made some films, prior to this, but I don't think, I didn't see Jackie. I know Jackie was definitely a thing, but I didn't see that one. But we have not really had a Portman film of this magnitude in a while, and she absolutely kills it here. The character of Lena is very compelling. I don't really want to get into too much about her character, but let's just say she hasn't really made the best decisions, and you can see that she really feels she has a bit of a debt to O'Kane, and this is why she is, venturing into the Shimmer, and I really like getting into her character. I really like what they did with her character overall. I thought she definitely did a really great job here, and what I really loved about Lena is that she's not perfect. Like I said, she's made a lot of bad decisions here and there, but you can really see where she's coming from. You can see that she really does care about her husband, and I really do love seeing her go through all this, especially the third act of the movie. What she has to pull off is no easy feat, and she stayed 100% committed to this, and to me, I think this is Portman's best performance since Black Swan. She absolutely killed it here. And then Jennifer Jason Leigh as well in this movie, I thought really did a great job. I really did like her character. Some of the best scenes were just between her and Portman. She, again, has a specific reason for going into the Shimmer, and I really did like getting more into her character. I thought she, like I said, did a really great job here as well. However, for me, as good as Portman was, the absolute standout of this movie is Gina Rodriguez as the character of Anya Thorensen, and basically, I mean, I've really loved Gina Rodriguez and Shane the Virgin, but we have never seen her quite like this. This is a very different role for Rodriguez. This is someone who is, very well trained as a paramedic, and she knows of the dangers of what they're entering, but for some reason, she feels that she has a reason to go into the Shimmer, and she goes through this crazy journey. She is a bit of a badass in this movie, but she's not, again, completely invincible either. She does go through a lot, and there's one scene with her in this movie that absolutely terrified me, and I really did love where they went with her overall. She did an incredible job here, and I think this is really the film that's going to put her on the map. I mean, sure, she is involved in Jane the Virgin, but in terms of movies, her movie career has been kind of slow. This is the kind of movie she needs to be doing. I know I was talking about The Star, and I don't know why she's doing movies like this. Keep doing movies like this. You know what you're doing. You are definitely a very talented actress, and after this, I definitely want to see Gina Rodriguez do more stuff, because she was phenomenal here. And then the rest of the cast thought also did a really good job. Tessa Thompson, of course, is really good as the character of Radic. Tuva Novotny I also really liked. Oscar Isaac, let's talk about him. He's not in the trailer a lot, but he's in this movie a lot more than you expect. Way more of this movie focuses on Lena and Kane than I really did expect it to, and I thought he did a really good job. I really like getting into his character, and their chemistry is some of the best I have seen all year. It just felt so natural, but you could also tell it's a bit broken, because he comes back and their marriage is not exactly what it used to be, and I really did like what we got with this character. I thought overall he did a really great job here. Like I said, really everyone's at the top of their game. There's not a single actor that I thought wasn't giving it their all, and that is something I will absolutely give this film. So now let's get to the directing and the writing, which I should mention that because of the nature of this film, it's very hard to talk about it without spoilers. So I'm going to try to do my best, though, because I really don't want you guys to know a lot. There's a lot of things go down in this movie that I really was not expecting, and I really don't want you guys to know about it. Let's first talk about the directing. The directing of this movie is absolutely phenomenal. What I really love about Garland's directing is how much he takes his time with his film, because everyone's saying, oh, this is a horror movie, and it is, but that's not really till, I'd say, like, the middle of the second act is when it turns into a horror movie. The first hour or so is your basic, very intelligent sci-fi film, where there's a lot of questions and a lot of things that are going on, and we don't really know what it's all about. And I thought the way the sci-fi was coupled with the horror worked very well hand in hand, because the film is very intriguing and very compelling, but it also is quite scary. And let me say, the scary moments work extremely well here. They are very effective. They really did get under my skin, and there were parts of this movie where I was visibly shaking, and I don't mean just like sitting in my seat like kind of horrified. I mean I was visibly convulsing at some scenes. That's how into this movie I was when it came to the horror scene. They did an incredible job when it came to the directing. I absolutely loved Garland's directing here. He was just, like I said, it was definitely on point. It's some of the most well-realized directing I've seen in a while, and it really does show how talented of a director he really is. What I also really loved is the writing, because sure, like I said, this film is exponentially bigger than Ex Machina. It has a much bigger cast. It's got a much more complex story. But Garland didn't try to make this grandiose film. I mean, sure, he did, but similar to Moon, he really does take his time with this. Like I said, the first hour of the movie is focused on getting to know these characters, and what I really love is they give a specific reason. They really show you this is why they would go into the Shimmer. This is why they would make this decision, because the film does acknowledge that all the previous groups have basically disappeared and they have not survived from this. So you're kind of wondering, what's this really going to do for them? How's this really going to benefit them? And the film, I thought, did a really good job establishing, okay, this is why this character wants to go in. This is what this character is trying to accomplish. And it really did make a lot of sense when approaching it from that lens. And again, that's stuff I want to get into when we talk about the spoilers, but I really did love his writing with that. I thought that was definitely very well done overall. And the film also features a lot of smart characters. Anything that you probably be thinking, the characters do ask. There's a scene in this movie where Lena straight up asks Jennifer Jason Leigh, why are we enduring the suicide mission? Why would we want to do this? And I really did love the way that was done, because again, it's like, that's what we're thinking. That's what we were, kind of like, what the hell are you doing, you stupid, you stupid people? What's going on here? So I really like that she actually straight up asked her, why are we doing this? What is the reason for us? What is this going to accomplish? Are we going to be able to overcome this? I mean, there was a lot of great questions there, and the film also has a lot to say, I think, about monsters in general, and how monsters, sure, they are looked at in a menacing, very terrifying manner, but are they actually benefiting the world? Are they actually helping us in a way? And I thought the balance between those two things was very well realized here, and especially once it comes to Portman's character, what she ends up going through in the film. Again, I don't want to get into it, but I really did love the way that was portrayed here, and thought that was definitely very well done. The film also does a really good job of, like I said, very slowly giving us reveals about what happened to the previous group and really what they're going through, and I definitely really did love that here. And of course, the film does have basically the liar reveal type technique, because throughout the film, she withholds the fact that she does have a connection to Kane, and this could have come across as really dumb and very unnecessary drama, but it works for this story because you can tell she doesn't want that to get in the way of this. You know, she feels that she has a debt to pay, but she wants to approach this in a way where, you know, she doesn't have all this other baggage in the way, and I thought that was definitely very well handled when it came to screenplay. I really did love the way that was done, and like I said, there's a lot of deep ideas exploring this movie, stuff that I really would love to get into, but again, I'm going to wait till I think the analysis and spoiler section of this video to do so. Now, I will say this movie is not perfect. It does actually have its flaws, and most of them are actually in the writing, and they're nothing too bad. They're just two very minimal flaws here. First of all, as much as I do really like all the actors in the movie, really the only characters that felt fully developed to me were Natalie Portman, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Gina Rodriguez. The other two characters in the film, Tessa Thompson and Tuva Novotny, I just didn't feel as connected to. And they try. They definitely do make attempts to develop their characters. It's not like they didn't. They definitely tried to do something. But, I don't know. I just didn't feel completely satisfied, particularly with the way that Tessa Thompson, and, you know, particularly the way Tessa Thompson ends the film, her last scene just didn't feel that satisfying to me. I kind of want a bit more from her character, and it just didn't really work overall. Again, great performances, great actresses without no doubt, and really good characters. I just did not feel as connected to them as I did the other three. The good thing is, most of the film, those are the three characters we're following, so it's not like a huge complaint. It's just those two characters did not feel as developed to me. Also, the trailer doesn't really tell you this, but I'm going to say it's not really a spoiler. From the first scene of the film, we realize that most of this movie is Lena being interrogated, from these men in hazmat suits, and basically they are interrogating her about what's going on. The film kind of starts off in media res in that way, and because the film does have two problems. One, right off the bat, it tells you every single thing that happened when they were in, well, not every single thing, but it tells you this is who died, this is who didn't make it out. Like, it very explicitly tells you who actually died, and I didn't have a problem with that. I thought it created suspense pretty well. I thought it got us intrigued because we don't know who these characters are, and we know that they're going to die, and once we're connected to them, we're going to kind of forget about that. That was fine to me. What did kind of bother me is when we would go back to this, and they kind of used it as a crutch for a way for Lena to kind of explain some of her actions and why she did this specific thing, when to me, it seemed pretty obvious. It did not really seem like something that needed to be explained. And the reason I think Garland did this is because the film was for a wide audience, and maybe he just implemented that in there because he didn't think the audience was smart enough, and the film's already very smart and very intelligent, and when you put these scenes in here, it does kind of undercut some of that intelligence, and did kind of frustrate me at times. I'm like, I don't need to be explained. I know why you're doing this. I know why you felt this certain way. It felt like the film was using this as, like I said, an advantage, and Benedict Wong's character is basically just an expositional mouthpiece. He's just asking questions, and that's really all he is in the film. So, yes, this definitely did bother me. Luckily, it's not done a lot, but when it is done, it, like I said, was kind of annoying at points. The cinematography in this film is easily the best I have seen all year. I absolutely love the cinematography here. It is so well constructed. Just the look of the woods, it's kind of its own character. It really is. It gives you this ominous, harrowing feel. There's a constant sense of tension throughout the film, and without spoiling anything, the third act really gets quite trippy, and it gets into some really crazy stuff, and the creature that ends up following them, it's got to be one of the most terrifying, just harrowing things in recent memory. I mean, this creature is absolutely terrifying to look at, and again, I don't really want to get into why, but it was so well done. I absolutely love the cinematography, and that is one of the best things about the film. Even if you are bored, you cannot say this film did not have great cinematography. You cannot say that this film was not, you know, well put together in that sense, because the cinematography is gorgeous here. Garland totally stepped it up in that department, and it is so well done. All the CGI, they feel like real animals, you know, because there are mutations and things like that in this movie, and it all feels so real. Nothing feels like a special effect, and honestly, I know we're not talking about Oscars yet, but if this film doesn't at least get visual effects, I will be very surprised, because it absolutely does deserve it. I think it deserves everything when it comes to that department. It's probably going to be some of the best cinematography of the year, and I was extremely impressed by what I saw there. The score in this movie. The score easily has to be one of the best sci-fi scores I've heard in recent memory. It's got this, like, synthy feel to it, and I really loved it. You heard glimpses of it in the trailer, but when you actually hear it in the movie, it just perfectly goes with the sort of mindfuck tone that the third act really does have. Because the third act, like everyone said, the third act gets into some really crazy stuff, and I thought the score really went in conjunction with that pretty well. I just really love the score in this film. It's one of those scores that I will be listening to on my own, and I really did love the score here. And then the editing to this movie I thought was perfect. It was very well paced. I really was never bored. Like I said, only those interrogation scenes in the film I did not think were really necessary. I think you could have easily cut them out, and sometimes it did feel a bit padding. But now, guys, I do want to get into spoilers as well as my analysis, so if you guys have not seen Annihilation, do not watch the rest of this review. I really have thought long and hard about this, guys, because needless to say, this is not a movie that is very easy to interpret. Some movies I have something right away, and, you know, I think, okay, this is definitely what it's about. But this film doesn't really have some kind of consensus when it comes to that. So I really had to think long and hard of what I think this movie is actually about, and I know this one seems a bit obvious, but this is what I personally think the movie's about. I think the whole movie is kind of an allegory for the idea of repentance and I'll get into why. But again, if you have not seen Annihilation, do not watch the rest of this review. Obviously, I'm sure you're not at this point. So let's just get right into it. So the reason I think it's repentance is because think of everything these characters have been through. Think of everything that they're really trying to overcome, especially when it comes to Lena. Because as we know in the film, you know, while Lena is someone who very much did care about her husband, she for a while was under the impression he wasn't returning home. Because of this, she was in that affair with that professor. And basically because of that, she was doing things behind Kane's back. And a lot of people said that this was very unnecessary, it didn't add anything to the film, and I would completely disagree because I think this gives the reason why she wants to go into the Shimmer. The reason is not to save Kane. She makes it very clear to Jennifer Jason Leigh. She says, I have a debt to pay. I owe him. And how does she owe him? She owes him because she knows she did wrong. So this is her sort of repentance in basically trying to, you know, get over her regret. You can tell she's very regretful about this. Kane doesn't even know about it, but she really feels like she has betrayed him, and this is kind of her way of making it up to him. So I think that's a very big way the film does represent the idea of repentance. Also, something like, say, Tuva Novotny's daughter. We don't know how her daughter died. We don't know the doing of what happened, but maybe she feels deep regret. Maybe she feels a bit of remorse for what happened, and because of that, maybe that's why she's going into the Shimmer. You know, something like, something like Radic, you know, her character. Again, we don't know really why she is cutting herself. We don't know what's going on there, but maybe she feels that this is her way to feel alive, and, you know, it's sort of like she feels regret over maybe some of her life choices, and this is her way to overcome that. And then we go to Ventress, because Ventress, of course, is the one who you're like, how does this apply to Ventress? There's really nothing bad she's done. Well, remember what Tuva Novotny said. She says very specifically to Lena that she doesn't really have any friends, and she doesn't really seem to have much of a life beyond this. And Ventress, as we know, she feels deep regret that she has led these soldiers into the expedition, seemingly just letting them die, and letting them do this, you know, and basically not come back alive. She feels very guilty because of this, and she really wants to overcome it. And I think because of that, she feels that this is her you know, the same way that Lena owes Kane, she owes every single one of the casualties, and that is why she's going inside. Sure, as we find out later, she does have cancer, and she knows she doesn't have long left in this world, but at the same time, she feels like she has let them down, and she wants to get those answers. She wants to know what's going on, because she just cannot, you know, die until she does get those answers. And in the end, what happens, she does get those answers. You know, the shimmer completely overpowers her. It, like, explodes, and basically she is obliterated, and it's because she did get those answers, and she felt that relief, and she felt that all that pain was gone. And again, I know this is hard to grasp, but this movie is very complex, and I could be very wrong with what I'm saying, but that's kind of what I interpreted the film's really about. But how does the ending translate into that? What is the ending really trying to say? Because, of course, as we know in the ending, we find out that Kane did in fact kill himself, and, you know, he attempted suicide, and what ended up happening is that the Shimmer ended up, turning into this humanoid that basically duplicated, Kane, and basically that is now the Kane that came back. This makes sense why Kane was very, out of the loop. This makes sense why he was, like I said, kind of out of it and very slow, because he did not have a memory of Lena, because it wasn't him. But was that demon Lena, is the question. Is Lena the person that did get away in the end, or was that actually the humanoid? You know, what actually happened there? So, we get to the ending, and, you know, Lena does not really have an answer, and what I think this is trying to say, remember what she said to Benedict Wong, that the creature, yes, it was destroying the world, and, you know, Annihilation is about obliterating the world completely, but it also is about making something new, and in this case, what it made was a way for these two to start over, a way to get them over the damage of what they've gone through, and maybe overcome what's going on. We don't really know what's going to happen between Oscar Isaac and Natalie Portman. Of course, you know, we're led to believe this is not the Kane and the Lena that we've been with throughout the entire film. You know, this very well could be the other Lena that is, you know, masquerading as her, and basically the humanoid has taken the form of Lena, but we still don't really know. And again, I think the whole film, another big thing that Jennifer Jason Leigh says to Portman in the film is the idea of, you know, no one really commits suicide. We're all just kind of self-destructing ourselves, and that's like the deep construction of human reality. I think that's a big part of this too. You know, they really were self-destructing themselves, and by doing that, they made something new. They made this version that is a little bit more, not unscathed, but a little bit more clean, and they're kind of going into this, you know, with the damage done, and now they really don't have anything to hide, and I think that's what the ending is really trying to say. Again, I know it's a bit confusing, I know it doesn't make a ton of sense, but that's really what I've interpreted. I could be very wrong, but honestly, there are not a lot of interpretations about this movie out there, so that's personally how I feel about this film. That's really what I think it's truly about, and when you really look at it from that lens, I think a lot of it does start to make sense. This is why the demon, you know, I keep saying the demon. This is why the alien obtains the form of Lena, so that way it can kind of, you know, clean Lena of all the sins and kind of cleanse her of that. And now it is going to be Lena, because it's going, basically it's going to be a new Lena who doesn't have as many sins and doesn't really have anything to hide. You know, basically she's had not her entire memory wiped, but we know that this, you know, over time, she's not going to start feeling like Lena. She's going to feel like a completely different person, and I think, again, the whole movie, it goes back to the idea of repentance. Because she's gotten over what she did, now she can basically start anew, and that's kind of what's going on with Kane and Lena, and it's not really that creepy of an ending when you think about it, but as we know, they're definitely not human. You know, we see in the ending that their eyes have now taken the form of the different colors of the shimmer, so they're definitely not human anymore, but I just thought it was a very creative ending. I thought it was definitely very well done, and again, what Garland is really saying, it is very deep. He's talking about regret. He's talking about the deepest, you know, grievances that someone can go through, and I really did love what he was saying there. It's not easy to grasp, and that's something I really do love when it comes to these films. It's one of those films you really gotta take a second to think about, and again, I could be very wrong, but to me, I really feel the film is about the deep anguish that all these characters are going through, how they overcome it, how they, you know, are able to live after what they went through, and I think that really is what he was trying to say here. But overall, guys, Annihilation is an absolutely fantastic film. I really love pretty much everything about it, minus those two flaws that I did have. Other than that, guys, this is a highly original film. It's got a very different style to it. It's got a very interesting message. It has some amazing performances from the entire cast. I think everyone really does bring it here. It has some absolutely terrifying scenes, and I mean it when I say they really are terrifying. I mean, they're definitely some of the creepiest things I've seen in a while. You have some very smart characters. You just have a very well done sci-fi film overall that I think by the end of the year we're all going to recognize as one of the best of the decade. I think, honestly, if Garland really does continue, he could become like the next Denis Villeneuve. He really could. I mean, he really does have a knack when it comes to this sci-fi storytelling. I think he really does an incredible job with that overall. I have yet to see Dread. I heard that one's great as well, but Ex Machina, Annihilation, he really is knocking out of the park, and I really am looking forward to seeing what he does do from here. I absolutely loved Annihilation overall, and I'm definitely going to give Annihilation an A. So over, guys, my review of Annihilation, also my analysis. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall, left your thoughts on it. Do you agree with my interpretation? Do you not? Again, I know there is some stuff that I left out, and honestly, that's just because I don't have enough time. I didn't want this video to drag on for like 30 minutes, so that's why I didn't like go as in-depth as I possibly could have, but that's in my review. Hope you guys enjoy. We'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.